Hello and welcome to Mr. Rohrman's chemistry class. Today's class will be lesson 2. We'll be discussing types of solutions. So the standard for today's class is TEKS 11.B, which is to distinguish among types of solutions, including unsaturated, saturated, and supersaturated solutions. Your learning objective for today's class is that students will learn to distinguish between unsaturated, saturated, and supersaturated solutions. So before we get into the lesson, we're going to offer a quick refresher on solutes and solvents so that we're able to distinguish between the two. Now remember, the solute is the component of the solution that is being dissolved, which is present in a smaller amount, and the solvent is the component of the solution that dissolves the solute and is present in a greater amount. So there's always going to be more solvent compared to the solute. In other words, the solute is what is being dissolved, and the solvent is what is doing the dissolving. All right, three main types of solutions that we're going to focus on, of course, are unsaturated, saturated, and supersaturated. So the easiest analogy for us here in Texas is we use the analogy of sweet tea. We have unsweet tea, and we have sweet tea, and we have super sweet tea. So that's a good way as we get into this next part of the lesson to help us understand the difference between the three. So the saturated solution is a solution that contains all the solute it can hold at a given temperature. That means that it has just enough sugar as compared to your tea. The unsaturated solution is any solution that can dissolve more solute at a given temperature. Note that this is your unsweet tea. You can always add more sugar to make it sweeter, but not in such a great quantity. And the last one is your supersaturated solution, which is one that contains more solute than a saturated solution at the same temperature. If you continue to add sugar into your sweet tea, the sugar will reach a point to where it doesn't dissolve anymore and it'll settle to the bottom of your glass. Therefore, you're going to have super sweet tea with a thick layer of sugar sitting on the bottom of it. So in summary, again, the analogy using the sweet tea, the unsweet tea is what you consider your unsaturated solution because you can always put more solute. In this case, the sugar is the solute. Your sweet tea is your saturated solution because there's no more sugar that can dissolve in it. You have enough sugar in it to make sweet tea. And your super sweet tea is your supersaturated solution. It becomes unstable crystals forms because you cannot dissolve any more sugar in that tea because there's already too much sugar. The solvent cannot dissolve any more of that sugar. Okay, and at the end of the lesson, now you should be able to distinguish between saturated, unsaturated, and supersaturated solutions. And the next task for you is to click on the link below to complete the lesson quiz. And upon completion, we'll get that entered into the gradebook, and then we'll move on to our next lesson. Thank you.